This is the #1 movement for freedom of the mind and heart. Let's start a conversation. Hello, my darlings. Welcome to another amazing week here on the Salty and Bright podcast. I'm your host, Maria Jinga. Let's dive in. Happy February. Happy February, my darlings. Happy February. Happy another fantastic week. Happy everything. January felt like 3 months in one, and February feels like I'm blinking and we're almost done with it. It's crazy. Time feels like it's just zooming by, and there are many things that make me think it's because of how intentional we start becoming after, January feels like really heavy. Depending on where you are in the world, it might be winter and it's cold, the days are short, you're kind of exhausted after the holidays. Lots of things are happening. But then February comes and you're almost done with winter. The days are a bit longer. You get more sunshine. You get a bit more excitement happening. There's Valentine's Day. There's more. Okay, we're done with January. We found our rhythm back after the holidays. February feels like a relief. February feels like, okay, we can make this year better than maybe it was before. We can shift, we can change, we can bring more goodness to it. February feels like a little dessert, if you have it. And as I was reflecting the other day around what I want to experience more in February, for me, it was more intentionality, more presence, more surrendering to what's coming without projecting what I would want to have happen. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I found myself in spaces where I'm sometimes doubting if I'm doing enough, but then also at the same time, I'm concerned that if I'm doubting so much, if I'm doing enough, then I'm going to try to control it too much. And that's when I start micromanaging God. And I don't want that, because God is great and he has a bigger plan. And I don't have to hold all the reins. I don't have to hold any reins of his plan. I'm just there holding my own reins. And that's when this morning it landed for me in a actual message I saw online that said, the only thing you need to control is your self-control. And I was like, God, I hear you. It was so good. So I'll say it one more time. The only thing we need to control is our self-control. And if you think about it, that is one part of the fruit of the Spirit. And I'll read to you all of them because I'm still learning about them, and I'm still learning how to invite more of the fruit of the Spirit into my life. So the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, goodness, patience, gentleness, faithfulness, kindness, and drumroll, please. Yes, you know it. Self-control. Self-control, I think, is one of the most skillful things we could possibly invite into our lives, because it's not a matter of what can we control or influence. It's a matter of how can we be our best selves and anchor in who we get to be when we control the things that are directly in our control. Which is really funny if you think about it. Now that I'm thinking, when I'm looking at this list of the fruit of the Spirit, self-control is the one that will totally enhance the rest of them. if you think about it. If you want love, joy, peace, goodness, patience, gentleness, faithfulness, kindness, self-control will be the one that will help you get all of those experiences, all of those fruits. Because if you have full self-control over your emotions, you will experience love, you will experience joy, you will experience peace. You will know how it feels to experience goodness and patience and gentleness and faithfulness and kindness when you get to have fully integrated self-control over your heart and mind. And then I sat with myself and I reflected over this. My mind is a byproduct of what I allow it to absorb, what I allow it to think, and what I allow it to regurgitate out. It's not just what I'm intaking, it's also what I'm exposing out. My mind is a byproduct of all of the things that are being absorbed and expected outside as well. My mind gets to be either under my control or, and this is the harder part, it's going to be under the world's control. Now I get to tell you this. How often do we sit and realize that our mind is not fully in our control because of everything we consume, because of all the environments we allow ourselves to be into? What is our mind really, truly showing up as when we do not fully control it? It shows up as crazy, as overwhelmed, as saying yes when you should be saying no, as saying no when you should be saying yes, because fear is too deep in you. Your mind will be directed. Your mind will be completely overwhelmed by the outside world and not be in your control when you're not allowing it to be in your control. This is something that I work a lot with my clients. In my day-to-day work, if you guys are new here, I'm a coach, I'm a mentor. I work with people with identity work around shifting into a fuller version of themselves, releasing old stuff, old trauma, old patterns that are holding them back, shifting both into a lifestyle identity, but also a business style identity. So we work together, me and my clients, around building, rewiring, and reconstructing a better version of them. Now, in my work, I can tell you hand on heart, 10 times out of 10, the identity work that gets done is not in any kind of discipline or in things or habits, is what you believe about yourself. And not only just what you believe about yourself, but what you allow yourself to accept as your truth. Because you can have all sorts of things being told to you outside of who you think you are and not allow them to be your truth. And they will not be integrated in your identity. If someone says, don't jump over that fence because you might get hurt and you're going to be comfortable with the fact that maybe if I'm going to get hurt, I'll have a scraped knee and that's fine. That fear that they're projecting over you will not affect you, will not become part of you. So you're going to jump that fence and you're going to be fine. Even with a scraped knee, you're going to be fine. The fear does not integrate in you. It doesn't become your identity. But if you trust that person and part of you is still fearful a little bit and they say, don't jump over that fence because you're going to get hurt, and you feel it and you allow it to be your identity, to be like, I'm going to get hurt, a scraped knee, it's not going to feel good. And you're overthinking that without controlling how that is actually true or not. You get to adopt that identity and you allow that fear from the outside source to penetrate your subconscious. So see how self-control becomes a direct part of what you can take care of. Do you want to allow things from the outside world to influence you that are negative? Maybe you don't consciously, but somewhere in your past, you've accepted them as truth and they've become part of your identity. The unproductiveness, the say yes just to please others, the I'm just going to dress like others because, I want to be like others, want to feel like I belong, even though the style or clothes or whatever you're getting on you is not fully aligned with who you are. You're just saying yes to belong. You're just saying yes to things to feel like I'm part of the crowd. I'm part of the cool people. That starts eroding your identity, starts eroding your uniqueness, starts eroding your qualities, your skills, your talents. Because yes, there are things that we can learn in life, but there are also things that we are born with, affinities that we have in our DNA, such as I am not a fabulous painter or drawer whatsoever, but I'm a great writer. And I'm a great writer because even before I knew how to write, I felt like I knew how to write, if that makes sense. It felt like I remember I was at the age of 4 and I could barely make capital letters. And I found this empty old notebook in my grandfather's um, closet when we were cleaning up things. And he said, hey, I used to use this for taking notes for my clients because he was I have such a blank. He used to build fireplaces. I don't know the masonry. I don't know what's it called. Anyway, he used to build fireplaces. So he was taking notes for his clients and everything. I just had an epiphany as I'm telling you this. I am a descendant of an entrepreneur. So I love how that just landed for me. I'm a descendant of entrepreneurs and farmers. So on my mom's side, my grandparents have a beautiful farm and have had that farm since forever, since I can remember. So they were always people that worked with their hands and with the soil and with the rhythm of the world as ebbs and flows came. So they were that. And then on my father's side, my grandfather used to be a fireplace builder, and my grandmother used to be a seamstress when they were alive. So both of them had their own businesses even before businesses were still a thing. I just had the most beautiful, heart warming and heart opening epiphany that I am a descendant of entrepreneurs as I'm fully devoting my life to being an entrepreneur myself. I could cry. That is the most beautiful. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for that. That was the most beautiful, heart opening realization that I've had in a while. And I can tell you for a fact, my darling listeners, that I've been struggling with keeping my fire going for the past couple of weeks. And there have been, behind the scenes, there have been things that have happened that made me feel very undervalued. Not from my friends. God, I love my friends. They are the most beautiful people that have been taking care of me very well. But from my past, there have been things happening that made me feel very undervalued for the past 2, 3 weeks now. And even though I've worked on letting them go because it doesn't matter. Part of me, the little Anna, still felt inside like, that happened. And I knew it would happen. And I was hoping it would not happen because I knew it would feel very hard and heavy to go with that as I'm building this momentum. But it happened. And it's been hard. So having that moment right now that I realized I am a descendant of business people, of business owners, both my farmer side of the family and my entrepreneur side of the family, both of them were people building their business, not working for anyone. So now I have this question for you as I'm feeling all of this. When you think of who you are a descendant of, don't go just to your parents. Go to your grandparents, go to your great grandparents, go to uncles and aunts that are part of your lineage. Sit with that for a moment. Sit with that for a moment and let it speak to you. What does that bring up for you? Because for me right now, it just brought up, I feel so much relief and like I belong, and like the biggest, warmest, most comfortable hug from God himself. Anyway, thank you, Jesus. So I had that old, stained, empty notebook my grandfather gave to me. He's like, here, I'm not going to use it because he was retired at the time. And he's like, just use it. Use it to draw on it, use it to practice your writing, just use it. And I remember I tried to write, the capital letters that I was learning in kindergarten. And then my hand just picked up a pen and started scribbling lines like, you know, loops and little lines and everything, just pages and pages and pages. And even if you ask my mom now, she would tell you, I just started filling that whole thing up because it felt like my hand knew what it needed to do. It felt like I was born to be a writer. Now I'm more and more stepping into that because it makes so much sense to surrender to who I actually am. But if you give me a pen to draw a very beautiful cat or flower or tree or whatever, it's not going to be fabulous. My brain doesn't fully know how to do that. But I remember my friend from high school, her father was a church painter. And the way she was able to paint and draw and sketch was out of this world. Because who we are in our DNA comes directly into our identity. That also goes with bad habits. Because I truly believe that the DNA is formed with everything that we get from our creator, but also everything we get from our parents and our grandparents. We get the direct download of all of it blended into us. That doesn't mean that we cannot control it. That's the blessing of all of this. Because self-control is the thing that will give you your whole power back. Controlling your emotions and controlling your thoughts and controlling your mind is exactly what you need to be able to fully show up in a world with integrity, with discipline, with a mission, with a full heart and an open mind and a clear path that this is what I'm meant to do. So when you think of that, my darlings, how can self-control show up in your life differently if you allow it to be your main focus? When we think of self-control, I can tell you that something that comes up in my mind when I think of self-control is a discussion I had when I was a teenager with my mom, where we just had a fight. And she mentioned to me, you have no self-control when you talk to me like that. And I was furious. And that also made me think that self-control is being quiet and obedient no matter the injustice. Being quiet and obedient to a world that wants to walk and trample all over you. That was what was ingrained in my mind as self-control. That self-control is saying no to you, but yes to the other that wants to belittle you. Self-control started feeling like limitation, like you're sacrificing yourself for something that doesn't make sense. You're sacrificing your values, you're sacrificing your integrity for something that didn't make sense. Now, my mom and I had at that point a fight over, I don't know, my mom and dad's relationship, or I having a boyfriend. I don't remember exactly what the fight was, but I remember the moment she said, "You have no self-control for talking to me like that," was the moment I felt like no matter what I would do or how I would defend myself or how I would be able to express myself in order to be pleasing to others and to be seen as a good girl, I needed to restrain myself. So that is not the truth of what self-control actually is. Self-control is dignity. Self-control is grace. Self-control is peace and patience, if you think about it. Self-control is discipline, is how you allow yourself to go from a space of reaction to a space of response. Self-control is how you teach your internal narrative to support you rather than harm you. Is how I got to, even though experience a space where I didn't feel valued yet again in the past couple of weeks, I realized that if I allowed that to constantly be in my mind, it would stop me from continuing my momentum. It would stop me from continuing my growth. It would stop me from taking care of my family and showing up wonderfully with my husband and being supportive with my community and my friends. It would stop me from being fully me. That's self-control. So I will leave you with this, my loves, for this week. Sit and journal on what self-control actually looks like for you and what it could help you achieve and overcome when you allow self-control to be your armor, your step stool, your support, and not your limitation. We're not biting our tongues to not say something, to not speak a truth just to not hurt another. We are speaking with integrity, paced and grounded in order to support another. That's where we're looking for. That's where we're looking towards. That's the path we're building. I'm excited for you guys sharing what this whole stirring will work through you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love this whole new vibe of salty and bright that we have here. Thank you so much for your messages and for your love from all this shift and upgrade has brought already for you. And let's make more happen. Until next week, my loves, I love you. You're fabulous. And stay salty and bright. Bye now.